Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and action.
The actions of your group are inexcusable. You use terror tactics to gain...
To gain what has been stolen by an old and decadent generation. The old regime will be swept away. They are no longer worthy of our loyalty. We will replace them. Bring order out of the chaos that will follow.
Chaos leads only to chaos. And even more chaos after that.
Even more chaos. And we're talking chaos here, pal.
We're talking chaos of the yin-yang.
Thinking back, I've always been interested in filmmaking, and I've always been interested in Doctor Who. I remember watching Doctor Who as a kid, very, very young. My earliest memory of Doctor Who, I think, was like either 1979, 1980, something like that. I remember the Pyramids of Mars, and I remember the mummies, and I had no idea what I was watching. And then, like, there in like around 1985, I started watching Doctor Who again with John Pertwee.
Hi! Hi! Venusian Aikido, gentlemen.
And I loved it. It was exciting. I liked the fact that the Doctor was smart and he solved things through technical skill. And you know, I mean, you had enough people in the mid '80s running around with guns. You know, it was kind of neat to see somebody who did things a little differently. And then the Doctor Who had been off the air for a few years, you know, and they came out with the Paul McGann television movie.
Gallifrey! Yes, this must be where I live. Now, where is that?
I've never heard of it. What do you remember?
A meteor storm, and the sky above us was dancing with lights. Purple, green, brilliant yellow, yes!
What?
These shoes!
They fit perfectly. Yes.
It got me thinking about Doctor Who again, kind of things that I liked, you know, and then I saw Ryan K. Johnson's. I came across his website while surfing the net on my college computer, and he did like these Doctor Who fan films.
Fan filmmaking is a homemade production, usually based on characters created and owned by someone else, for example, Doctor Who, Star Trek, or Star Wars. In the 1960s and 70s, fans created their own stories and wrote them in fanzines and printed them and distributed them in print. In the 1980s, technology filtered down to the point where ordinary people could make their own movies and were pretty much limited only by their creativity and their budget.
Hey, Doctor! Where are you?
Oh, that was an incredibly stupid thing to do, Carl. You could have opened the door to a freezing vacuum of space, and we'd both be dead.
Sorry.
That's awesome. That's an awesome idea. I never heard of anybody do anything like that. So I ordered like all of his Doctor Who fan films.
Well, I was an independent filmmaker before I became a Doctor Who fan, and in the fall of 1983, when I was exposed to the series on a regular basis, I'd already done 3 films in 16mm. So around that same time, the 1984 Worldcon in Los Angeles announced a film contest for science fiction movies. And so I decided to combine my 2 interests, which were filmmaking and Doctor Who, and make a Doctor Who fan film. Part of the reason of choosing Doctor Who, of course, is that you could have a really low budget and get away with it, and you could cast anybody in the lead role. As a filmmaker, you always want the most amount of people to see your movies, and tapping into a pre-existing audience is a good way of having your films be seen by a lot of people. I've made a lot of movies that had nothing to do with fan films, and no one ever watches those. But when you make a Mystery Science Theater or a Doctor Who film, people seem to really like those, of course, if they're any good or not.
And I enjoyed his films, and I just like, you know, I could do this. What I had done previously is I had become a theater major, and I became a video production minor for the sake of making movies, because I wanted to do that. And this is just before I did Doctor Who. I finished one film called Science Fiction: The Zany Adventures of Captain Joe McCarthy. I did that as kind of a throwaway film, like my first film would Stink, you know, Stink on Ice.
Our sensors haven't picked up any civilization.
And so I'm like, I'm just gonna have fun with this, and I just did this, and I shot most of it in a day.
We're lost in space, and we run out of a food supply, and we are forced to eat the puppets.
It was fun, you know. I don't think Spielberg has anything to be jealous of.
Oh, Captain, isn't it beautiful?
I knew what I wanted to do. I had a vision in my head. I had sort of a very, very basic story in my head, but I never approached it from the standpoint of like, all my ideas are the best ideas, and only I can bring this vision to the screen, you know. And it wasn't like that. I was just like, you know what? I think I could do this. I'm going to get some help. You know, I had some friends who were pretty smart guys. 2 of the friends, Jeremiah Lynch and Ryan Glasspool.
Well, I've always been a Doctor Who fan, and Ryan Thorson, who was a good friend of mine, what did we do together before this? I'm not sure. How did I meet that guy?
Hi, welcome back to the Screening Room. I'm your host, Ryan Thorson.
And I'm Jeremiah Lynch.
Jeremiah is he's a very smart guy. He's a talented actor, and he's a goofball.
Ryan lived a block from me, and we went to high school together. I've known Ryan for many years, and in fact I've been involved with Ryan in previous projects.
Ryan, very smart, again got a very similar sense of humor, touch sardonic, you know how it is.
He had another project or a personal interest project where he wanted to refilm Dracula. I
actually had him in one of my really, really early films that I did when I was still in high school, which I did based on the cutout chapter of Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Bitte, mein Herr! Du hast keine Idee, was du machst! Diese Straße ist verhext!
I didn't get it finished, so it just didn't work out. But Ryan Glasspool played the part of Johann.
Ja und nein! Und wie viel würdest du machen, lieber?
The 2 of them, we just got together and we just started cranking out a storyline and started writing a script.
I really can't admit to contributing all that much. Mostly, I think it was concept.
I was mostly involved solely with the writing, and probably only through the first 15-20 minutes of the film. So a lot of the dialogue where the doctor is talking to Sylvie at the swimming pool side, or the banter between Tam and Ogril.
Because we talked a lot about having the confederation of the politically correct state, where everyone is equal because they have to wear the same clothing and they can't say certain words. I think that was probably my contribution, or at least part of it. Because all three of us, myself, Ryan Glasspool, and Ryan Thorson, had a lot of meeting of the minds time to discuss how the plot should go.
The concepts and the ideas that we talked about in the very beginning actually did a lot to inform the rest of the film.
I don't remember exactly how far we got with that dynamic, the three of us. Eventually, at some point, it got stalled. And then I got involved with a group called the Society for Creative Anachronism. And through that, I met a guy named Jeremy Neenow.
I knew Ryan for a couple of years. I knew his brother, his older brother. Through gaming, we were both heavy into role-playing. And I think Ryan was in the SCA with me, the Society for Creative Anachronism.
And then I started telling him about this idea. I wanted to do a Doctor Who thing, but I'm still working on the script. He's like, hey, I'll help you with that.
And then he showed me a little bit of it, and he was like, I want to start over, though. Let's do some more.
And so that's where it really picked up steam. The two of us would just get together.
Well, I think it was very collaborative in the sense that I had ideas, Ryan had ideas. During the shooting, lots of people would be like, hey, let's do it this way, or maybe we should do this. It was very free-flowing. But it's probably my biggest contribution was dialogue.
Kept changing ideas and doing different drafts of script, trying to refine the language and so forth. But yeah, the four of us had got through to get a cohesive whole script finished. The story of Time and Again bears more than a passing resemblance to a lot of other Doctor Who stories, Inferno being the main one. And then we were going to set about trying to cast the thing. From the very beginning, we had thought about casting Jeremiah Lynch as the Doctor.
I was originally slated to play the Doctor in a very cute purple suit.
Jeremiah's Doctor, if he had played him, wouldn't have been your standard Doctor. He would have spoken with an American accent. He wouldn't have done the whole British thing.
But then things happened.
I'm sure he would have done a very good job.
And I got kind of busy.
Tammy Waker, who was in my media classes because she wanted to be a news reporter. I believe she is, actually. Todd Woolert we had playing the part of one of the Vardens. I think he was playing Tam. I ended up playing Ogril. Paul Christopher, again, was a friend of mine. He was a theater major. And we asked him, hey, would you like to play the Master?
I was contacted by the director, Ryan Thorson, to play the part of the Master at the very beginning.
He liked that idea. He had been a Doctor Who fan for a long time.
Since third grade, the first episode I ever saw was The Creature from the Pit, Tom Baker episode.
Hi, this is Ryan Thorson. Lately I've been hard at work at my newest video project, but I got a chance to talk with some of the actors who are in it in the project that we finally decided on, Doctor Who. I had the opportunity to do a video project, and we were talking over with my friends who were helping me write the script for it, and we had several options we were going to do, a couple parodies, I believe, but one thing that we thought would be really fun to do is finally to do a Doctor Who.
I think Doctor Who is a quality program that teaches a lot of good lessons, especially to younger minds.
I hope to have it released by next semester. We have a lot of good actors in it too, as well, playing some of the roles, and hopefully we can get this thing together and ready to go. We can actually do some justice to the show.
now, Doctor.
I've prepared the temporal motivators and isolated a tachyon beam from the neutron power cells. Oh, and of course prepared a ceremonial Rassilonian eulogy. This business should be done in a moment. Oh, were you saying something, Sylvie?
Oh, what? Nothing. I'll tell you later.
Oh, right. After you, then.
After you.
Oh. Thank you.
People start dropping out. The one I remember specifically, though, was Jeremiah Lynch. His wife, his now wife, who was a lieutenant in the Army, was going to Korea.
I got a girlfriend. And then also I had to go to grad school.
And her husband, rightly so, was going, with her.
So I wasn't able to complete the project.
I mean, I thought it would have been, maybe his priorities were kind of screwed up, not finishing the movie and everything, but, some people.
Ryan had to recast and reshoot some of Doctor Who Time and Again.
At that point, we're like, okay, our cast is gone. It's like, but the movie will go through. We believed in the movie. We believed that the movie would go forward. And when we lost so many people, we decided we were going to just try to get permission to just cast this, using theater facilities at UWL and do it professionally. Well, not professionally, I mean, professional-like. I wrote up a proposal to the theater faculty, said, let me do this. And then we just started distributing flyers. I went back to, I used to go to Viterbo College. It's not a university, I guess, Viterbo University. But anyway, it was a college when I went to it. And I was a theater major there for 1 year. And then when my grades went up, I switched to the university. And so I went back there and I said, do you mind if I put out these flyers and bulletin boards for an audition? And then we got a huge turnout from Viterbo. We didn't really get many UWL people coming, but we got a lot of Viterbo people.
Perimeter patrols are in. All is equated for tomorrow's advance.
Thank you, gentlemen, for your timely appearance. Good day. All is equated for tomorrow's advancement.
Was that all?
As far as the main core cast is concerned, we had Jackson Kissling playing Ogril, and we had Jay Melchior playing Tam. Out of the main cast that we had to replace later on, we had Benjamin Huber as the Doctor and Monica Gross as Sylvia Lydon. Benjamin, the only footage we have of him is the audition tape.
You good, Doctor. I see your wit hasn't deserted you. I can't believe it. I was so sure that we all
After he got cast, he quickly said, I decided this is not where I want to go, and I wanna go for more stage productions. Monica Gross, she actually went through some rehearsal period and then dropped out for, I think, the same reason.
When I originally wrote the script with Ryan, the main rebel's name is Remy, and that's just Jeremy with the beginning and the end cut off. So I was envisioning myself being the rebel leader, and it was all shot in my basement and stuff. A lot of the scenes were from my house when I was living across. That's what I envisioned my goal being. But as we started moving into it, I had more and more school responsibilities. As
Benjamin was the first person to drop out, we had to replace the Doctor first. A friend of mine who I had gone to school with at Viterbo was a guy by the name of Brian Allard. Anyway, he came and he tried out for my show, and I cast him as Remy, the rebel leader. And he knew we were looking for a doctor, and he said, well, I know this guy.
I had heard about an open audition at the 2 universities in town, and I wasn't available to audition on the night that they were auditioning all the actors.
I got a hold of him, asked him if he'd be interested in trying out for this, and he was. Apparently he was a huge Doctor Who fan.
So I asked the director with a phone call if I could have my own private audition, which I thought was asking a bit much, but he seemed open to the idea.
So I went over to his place, and I had him read some of the lines.
And so he came over to my house, and we ended up talking about Doctor Who for an hour before I even bothered to do any readings of dialogue from his script.
I don't remember exactly how, but at the end of that, I asked him if he'd like to play the Doctor.
When I had him in my house, I also told him that I could use my computer to write some music for him, do some sound effects, maybe even some visual effects, and he really liked that idea.
Dennis really, it was a really good casting, very serendipitous casting too. So Dennis started coming to rehearsals.
You all coming, aren't you?
The High Council of Time Lords will want a full report.
Pace. Enter Sylvie.
Don't be arrogant, Doctor. Time Lords don't have a monopoly on ingenuity.
And you turn around, and all of a sudden, Igor is stalking you. Look at him. He's hideous, isn't he? Okay, now, start walking down this way. Walk a little quicker, quicker, quicker. And we start walking forward, okay?
Boom! Shouldn't have just rushed off like that. I must maintain control. I've been so looking forward to meeting you. Again.
Who are you? How did you get past my guard?
I am 5th Minister Phycon.
The TARDIS defenses are on. You can't...
Know that your numbers are ours. Yeah! Know that your hours are numbered.
What I was doing with the rehearsals is I would videotape the rehearsals, and a lot of what I would do is I would be practicing how I wanted to shoot this thing while they were practicing their blocking.
At the time, I was married to an actor who was a student at Viterbo. He got involved with Ryan because they had known each other from a previous production, and I started out kind of coming along for the ride, but I really enjoyed the experience of being part of this movie.
The House deems it necessary. You will obey orders.
You have to get inside there too. Dennis.
I think yours.
She's got to get in there too.
This is going to take a while.
Get out of here! You're not supposed to go first.
Ow.
How tough are Tardans? Tardans?
How tough are the Tardans?
How tough are Tardans?
How tough are the Tardans? Are they like superhuman strength?
Then Monica dropped out, and now we had two. And I decided to ask a friend, really a friend of my family's, by the name of Leah Kuhn. She now goes by the name of Leah Rose, which is good because I had so much trouble spelling her name.
Well, I got involved because I was good friends with Ryan Thorson, the director-writer, and the first actress that he had cast somehow backed out, and he was in a pinch and asked me to do it, and I said, sure.
Action!
Where are we? But Doctor,
Quicker than that. You gotta follow
the
me.
Master of the Dissonance could be here any minute. And what about the time bubble? We have to go now.
Not this time.
This has to stop now. It has to end here.
I agree. It stops now. It ends here.
So close to me.
By the way, brush my teeth. We have received complaints about you, section leader.
Complaints? Am I to assume that my loyalty is being challenged?
For the moment, no.
When I came back, I still kind of wanted to be in it, and Ryan said, "Hey, I've got these scenes that I want to do with a previous incarnation of the Doctor." I thought that'd be awesome, and it was very little time commitment, and so I was all for that.
When we first got the script from Ryan, it was at a meeting with a large amount of the cast members all in the same room. And Ryan made it pretty clear to all of us that he wanted our input on the script. He admitted to all of us that he wasn't the best writer in the world. Now, what he meant was that he probably wanted us to just tweak the dialogue a little bit. But I actually took him at his word, and I inspected the plot as well as I could, and I found a couple of gaping holes that I suggested a couple of scenes for. He had mentioned the concept of a reminder room in the script, but we never actually had any scenes in it. So the two scenes that you've seen in the film with the reminder room were mostly written by me and Ryan after the script was supposedly finished.
I've got red light. You're recording, right?
Yes, we are.
You want me to say anything profound?
Not till I get the shot set.
Oh, well, can I just say this? It's been 6 months since our first shoot. Almost to the day.
Tell them with the camera. Ready? Okay. Now. Okay, Leah, you're gonna have to act soon. You got me down. Time and again, we started shooting in 1997, but the thing with that is we only shot very sparingly. We hadn't really done the formal casting yet, and it was just mainly the scene with Jeremiah.
They will be just the same as they were in the old time.
No, you're wrong. You're wrong, and you will see.
No, I'm not wrong. I don't.
Getting along with Jeremiah so well, I think, you know, and we just had that one day of filming, and I remember we just had a ball, and you know, it was just I mean, the two of, you know, if anything, it was probably better that he wasn't in the movie because we never got anything done. We were just,
you know, I wish we would have gotten along a little better because we just were.
You're both, you know, had the same sense of humor, which makes it kind of difficult to keep going.
Yeah, I'm kidding. Paul has a great sense of humor. I loved doing shots with him up on the bluff.
Action.
Sorry, what?
Action.
Okay.
I think the weather dictated how we were shooting. Most of, I believe, what we tried to, as much as possible, try to shoot our outdoor scenes in the time when there wasn't snow. We shot most of our indoor stuff, our studio stuff, when the time when it was dead of winter. It took us from, you know, again, late 1997 through 1999, about a year and a half to shoot it, you know, and that was kind of like, you know, because, you know, we only had actors for limited times, and, you know, we weren't paying them. I mean, I wasn't going to. That's why I call it mendicant, because we're begging for everything. We tried as much as possible to have a very formal schedule. You know, people would get the schedule. We're shooting this on this day. Often I find I'd underestimate the time we needed, especially with the studio stuff that involved chroma key.
It's just a trap. Damn, there's no door here at all.
This isn't a door. This is a lavatory.
Well, take it again. Stay where you are, though. Your genius is more than a match for.
More than a match for.
Sometimes the RON tape would be rolling in the RON deck, and we wouldn't record any of what we did that happened one time. That was such a pain.
Yeah, what's going on? Oh, that's good. That's good.
Probably one of the strangest things that we did during shooting, we had a blue police box, and we had blue screen capabilities at the university. So we couldn't shoot the blue police box in front of the blue screen. So what we did was we took the blue police box out to a local TV station that had a green screen for the weatherman.
Because I worked there, and I was able to talk to some of the people who worked the weekend shift. It's like, would you care if we came in and did this? You know, and they're like, yeah, sure, just don't break anything.
And they actually let us shoot after they finished their 10:30 news report. And we dragged it in through their big garage door, set it up, and read off cue cards all night, probably until 2 o'clock in the morning. It was a heck of a lot of fun, and we really got very giggly from being so darn tired.
We were just all very like punchy and tired, and I mean, we just did take after take of crazy stuff, and I was just being a little wacky, and I remember it was funny because we were just cracking each other up and being silly, so.
You really have to decompress as fast as you can, which kind of translates into some very weird stuff.
Out with the batter, in with the good. Out with the batter, in with the good.
I admit it, and I'm kind of proud of it.
The amount of DNA. I know! How can I have survived? The amount of DNA changes.
Extracorporeal regeneration! I never did quite find the secret. But cloning facilities on my TARDIS were adequate in providing verisimilitude!
What an eccentric performance.
Because the scripts always came in places where it had to be really precise. You couldn't just, you know, because that's why it screwed up, because it was so precise that any mistake threw the whole thing out of whack, and then you just had to do it again, because, you know, you can't fake lines like, you know, verisimilitude. You can't just
I don't remember.
Extracorporeal regeneration.
No, that's my favorite line!
Extracorporeal regeneration.
Corporeal. Who wrote this crap?
Either you say it or you don't, and you have to remember that.
The actual shooting process was always fun, always fun. Ryan had built an amazing TARDIS interior set that we had so much fun just walking around and playing with, pushing buttons and pulling levers. He had all sorts of wonderful ideas that involved using the Steadicam that he had purchased for this project. It was a lot of fun.
It was definitely a lot of fun, and it's one of those things where I look back and it'd be like, oh, it'd be great to do that again, and you know, and I'd be able to hit this and do this and think of this, and so there you go.
Being a college student and having to work while going to college, finding the time where we could all get together obviously made it that's what took some time too. It's not just about like the pre-production stuff and oh my goodness, it's like getting everybody to actually come together. I mean, all these college students with a lot of other things going on, the timing wise was hard.
I ended up being a stunt cop guy.
You don't have to say any lines right now. No lines. Not yet.
Halt.
Not yet. Okay, ready?
I don't have glasses on. I look much younger than I do now. And they have these nice fake guns, and the strap for my gun actually wasn't connected, so I had to hold onto the strap and the barrel of my gun the whole time. So I moved like this. And that's why I do that, because the strap doesn't work on my gun.
Our Vardens were real troopers. Jay and Action Jackson Kissling. I think they were actually involved in the longest amount of shooting besides Paul and myself. We were constantly pulling them out of drawers and saying, here, do a couple of scenes, now go away.
Take on me, take on me, be gone.
Are we ready? At one point during shooting, they had a couple of days off, and Jackson decided to play some catch football up on the top of a rather tall hill, and he ended up falling a long way down. And when he came in for shooting, he had this nasty little scar, which I think you can see me describing in the blooper reel. And we were actually wondering whether we could get away with reshooting some of his stuff so that he'd always have that cool-looking scar.
And then it's okay, say 2 lines, cut, can we go back, say 2 lines, say the same 2 lines, cut, go back, and it's just very, very frustrating when you think about it.
It was like, okay, get set up, and go, because it wasn't much time for rehearsal either. So that was a challenge, but then on the other hand, it's like, well, you do it, you just do it, and then you get some really like spontaneous stuff that way.
I mean, I understand the process, and it makes perfect sense when it's all added together, and it's fine, but it's not a very human-friendly process. You know? And actors are very human. We're incredibly human. That's why we're actors. We're kind of brain damaged that way.
Well, I remember when we went out into the, it was like a horse pasture up on the bluff, and I mean, it was really pretty, but I remember it was a little windy and cold, and I was kind of getting annoyed that my hair was being blown around, and it was supposed to stay back in a bun. That was annoying.
You went out there twice.
Yeah, this is what a 19-year-old thinks about.
You go in there, and you're on the set or in the location or whatever, and you have 2 feet to move in, which means, and you know, being an actor, especially someone like me who's a stage actor primarily, you really get into that. You know, you want to move, you want to do stuff, but you can't because you'll go out of camera frame or whatever.
On one of the numerous times that I went downtown La Crosse to shoot various cops chasing doctors scene, somebody downtown reported us to the police. They said that somebody's going around with weapons in the alleys in La Crosse.
Hold on. Take your time. Go ahead. You can walk. Go ahead. We don't have real guns. We're not terrorists. Would you like to join our militia? No, sorry.
Squad car came up to us. I don't know if he went woo or anything like that, but he pulled over and said, we had a report that you were running around with weapons. So I pick up one of the pop guns and I show it to him. He's like, okay, well, have a nice day.
I remember some of the props were really heavy. That's not an anecdote.
No. It helped that I didn't have a job at the time. I was living off my savings for about 1.5 years to get this production finished.
Now, in the opening pool scene, originally Chemical, what's her first name?
Leah.
Leah Chemical. Originally, she was in a 2-piece bathing suit.
Again, Ryan wanted to kind of sanitize the scene and take out any sort of...
any even remotely cheesecake-ish moments.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
And then I beat him over the head with the gun, and then he takes off, and I chase him, and I'm not wearing my glasses, and I'm like legally blind with my glasses, and I have to jump over a yellow parking, like cement thing, and I made it, but I thought I was gonna crash and fail.
And it was just sort of, okay, I just finished 4 hours on the stage, now let's go and film our Doctor Who movie. Okay, great, I'm fine. Like makeup, costume, okay, this is for real? All right, well, whatever.
Yes, but chaos begets chaos. And even more chaos.
Too far. You missed it. Back up. Stop. Back up a little more.
Paul, you got a little spittle in your mustache. It looks very feral. Do you want to look feral now?
Yeah, I'm gonna be spitting a lot.
So.
He's a
feral
master.
That's cool. Just making sure you wanted this to be seen.
I'm gonna get it in your face, just so you know.
That's fair.
We're ready?
I expect no less.
Yes!
And action.
The political correction facility at the north face of your perimeter will prove tonight will do quite nicely.
Cut.
What's my line again?
Yep, I'm in the shot.
You dick.
Create enough prime chaos that I can totally screw up this scene.
If we are
Cut.
successful, we will
Just pick it up. Don't lose your places. Just try to keep character.
Oh, come off it. I hate snow. I do. I just do.
It's okay. Let's try it again.
Here.
Go forward.
Here.
Forward.
Test 1 2 3 4. Test 1 2 3 4. Hello, Mom. How are you?
Yes.
Good to see you. Hello. How are you?
Oh, here we go again.
Now, Subi, listen. Things are different. Things have changed.
Doctor, how can you tell me? You don't know my line. You're the asshole, Doctor. I should be correct.
Don't look at this over. My God, girl. Now you turn on me at this point? Doctor, why are you such a prick? What have you done for me lately? You know, I bet the art in heaven is really cool. I bet it's all impressionistic. I was joking. I really love God. He and I are on very good speaking terms this week.
Get on with
this week.
Beefcake.
Forward. Forward. Keep going.
Oh, I didn't have this on though.
Don't take it apart. Didn't have what on?
This. You have like a mark on your lens, dude.
Oh, do I? Do.
Like a big. Or was that a reflection?
It might have been a reflection.
Yeah, it's gone now. Yeah, it's a reflection. I'm sorry. You look like a big white spray.
Ready? Action. Tori, you can't do that. Cut. Let's try it again. Tori was popping her glow gun.
Tori, stop popping your glow gun.
Keep going. No, we're going.
Past where I was.
Okay, stop. Go back.
That's it for him, then.
Sylvie, are you hiding?
He just won't stop. I refuse to let him finish. Bloody hell.
Am I helping you out a little bit?
Yes, you are. You're helping.
We're doing very nicely, actually.
Okay. Where do you want to take it from? I'm turning into Colin Baker.
Start walking.
I'm sure this is it. I should have done my calculations. Calculations, this is the spot.
Cut.
Okay, go forward just a little bit.
Here.
That's where you're gonna end. Okay, so I can see your face.
Look towards that direction, okay?
Toward the light?
Yeah.
In the space.
No, forget it. Just do it exactly how you did it before. I don't want to break continuity. Cut. Let's try it again. This time with more shouting. We shoot this in order so that we don't forget anything.
Yeah, right.
Cut. Okay, now your next line. Have they stated it as involved in the Confederation?
Yet?
Okay. Action.
Okay,
Actually, maybe go a little more forward. Go a little more forward.
I wouldn't do that if I were you.
Cock it. Let's try that again. Could you just, I wouldn't do that if I go. That would be so cool. Just don't hear the pop. Don't press the trigger. Ready?
Oh, weird. It's your shoulder on my head. Or is it my shoulder? It's my shoulder on my head. This is really spooky.
Okay, hold that shot. Go back a little ways. Back a little ways. A little more.
Let's do it again.
Okay. There was just one thing.
Action.
Okay. In the middle of my line, he said that. Okay. And that's where my people will find it.
That's wrong.
That's very wrong.
It's okay. It doesn't matter. We just need it heard. Okay, ready?
Some people think I really am an angel. Sometimes they see me walking down the... Sometimes I hear somebody say, look, there's an angel, and it's me.
Stand by. Actually, I want you to come over here and be a windbreaker for me. Like, open the umbrella.
Why don't you be an overcoat for him instead? We have a red light. We're recording all this.
Right there. That's your shot. Are you ready? Okay, then get off camera.
6 months ago, we started our first day of shooting up here on the hills, and I lost my little itty-bitty camera. Today, we found it. We're gonna develop this film and see if anything turns out. Stay tuned.
When I was coming up with my idea of how to interpret the Doctor's role, I definitely was consciously including some of the aspects of the previous actors to provide at least a little bit of continuity. I know that William Hartnell was famous for being quite crotchety and persnickety and very short on temper. There was the youthful energy of Peter Davison's role. And Tom Baker, of course, was famous for saying, "Wah," as he was trying to remember his lines. And so I tried to incorporate little pieces like that. But for the most part, it's more of the what would I do if I were a Time Lord kind of school of acting.
I tried to go more with a Delgado type of master because the Delgado character was a lot more calm and a lot more controlled and a lot more, you know, he just seemed a lot more grounded. Ainley was great, and we all love Anthony Ainley, but what they did was they used a lot of his over-the-top stuff and made the character a lot more of a sort of Snidely Whiplash, you know, rubbing hands together, you will die, Doctor, you know, type character, as opposed to when you had Delgado, who actually had these giant reaching plots that didn't involve just killing the Doctor or becoming a god.
Looking back, I was a very inexperienced actor. I think that I was trying to use my theater knowledge and some brief character history.
Also as his sort of guardian angel in the reminder room, not his guardian angel, I act as his conscience, his Jiminy Cricket, sitting atop his Rassilonian shoulder, telling him that he shouldn't modify the time stream just to save his comely companion.
Just trying to be a nice person. I felt like she would be a nice kind of level-headed person to sort of set off the Doctor's character, who kind of went from one thing to another and is kind of more free-flowing. I'm
proud that I did the movie. I'm really happy with the fact that we did it, and it was great, and it was a lot of fun. Looking back at my own performance, I was very inexperienced as an actor. You know, it's been 8 years, close to 8 years since we finished, and in that time I've done a lot of theater work, and I've really grown, I think, as an actor. And I think, you know, and definitely it was the first time I ever did video, any sort of filming, and I think that it shows up especially in the vocal work. If I could do it again, there would have been a lot more vocal levels, and it would have been a much more dynamic performance.
Paul Christopher, very scary guy in real life as well as on film. Paul actually is a very, very serious actor. He takes the craft very seriously, and he was the master for several months of filming. In that scene in particular where he's interrogating me while I'm strapped to that chair, I was actually strapped to that chair, and he was actually torturing me.
And then when it came down to playing where she's like really militant and evil, it was just more fun, I think, to play that kind of person.
Leah Rose was a real pleasure to work with. She knew her lines better than anybody else on set. She was always very giving, and when the cameras weren't rolling, she was incredibly funny. And towards the end of post-production, when she wasn't really needed all that often, if you needed her for just a couple of hours, she was there for you for a couple of hours, and she was always willing to give. Also,
it is obvious that it was filmed over a long period of time, and there were times when you get that disjointed feeling with, you have one scene where the master even physically looks a certain way because of hair length, you know, when I had hair, and you know, even I was dyeing it, which made it even weirder because then you have different color levels, you know, and then and the beard and so forth, and which are not normally things I have. And so there's some physical things, but also some acting things where, you know, you can't just walk away from a part for 6 months and then come in and film. Okay, and with a disjointed film schedule of any film where you're filming not in order, you know, it gets even weirder.
I think I was a 19 or 20-year-old girl that probably had better things to do, you know, and just like, but yet wanting to put out something decent, and not, you know, I'm not about to just like say, screw you, Ryan, later, you know, when we had already put this much work into it.
Pretty much the only actor I worked with on a regular basis was Dennis, and Dennis was fine, you know. I mean, he made a good doctor. He was definitely into the show and understood the mythology, and you know, but it was a very business relationship, you know. It was just, you know, we go and we see each other, we film, we act around each other, and that's about it. It was very, very professional, and that's, you know, fine. I really didn't have a lot of exposure to the other actors. I met them and worked with a couple here and there. You know, Leah, I had a couple scenes with, but even then was just kind of the same as with Dennis. It was just, I mean, we didn't travel in the same social circles, so it wasn't like we knew each other beforehand or continued to associate afterwards. You know, it wasn't. But it was a very positive relationship during the filming, and then after that, I never really saw him again.
Surprisingly, it wasn't hard to keep the continuity in our performances, even though the first scene that we shot was the scene up on the hill where I tell Leah,
"It stops now. It ends here,"
which is really towards the end of the film. If you notice, though, there is a little problem with continuity of my hair. I never cut it through those 2 years, and I started growing a real nasty ponytail, and there are a couple shots where you can see it tucked into the back of my collar.
Looking back, Jeremiah would have done a decent doctor, but it's honestly hard to think of that movie without Dennis Kuhn playing the doctor. It really is.
Ryan Thorson is very, very dedicated. He's committed. In fact, I think he should be.
Oh, God. Well, the kid has an ego problem.
No, you know.
Bit of a stinky odor coming from his shoes.
Ryan was a wonderful director, little scattered at times, but a lot of fun to work with.
No, I mean, he knows what he wants, and he's a creative guy and very persistent.
The one thing I'll say about Ryan that's really, really positive, the one thing I'll say that's really positive is that Ryan is very, very, very good at letting actors do what they want in their performance.
Action! It's a disguise.
Try it again.
Get the line out.
Ready?
If you had a problem with the way I said it, please.
No, it wasn't the way you said it.
At the same time, I would have liked, and this comes from looking back, this is a perspective only time can give you, you know, more input as a director from him.
Ready? You're doing fine. Don't let them get you down, Paul.
How certain shots looked, how the voices sounded, how, you know, I mean, but again, we were all inexperienced, and it all just kind of, but it gelled very well. You know, he's a good guy. He's nice.
Well, but I think a lot of it was the fact that Ryan wanted to, you know, retain some control. I mean, it was going to be his vision, and quite frankly, you know, and I understand this with creative types. I mean, it's my way or the highway, and I don't mean that in the pejorative at all. I do think that he knew what he wanted to do, and that's what he wanted to convey, and either you were going to help him, you know, achieve that, or he'd find somebody that was a little bit...
Or he would roll over you.
You know.
When Ryan Thorson and I first met, it was like we were best buddies for several years before that.
Get back a little bit. Step.
Not so close, you peeping Tom.
There you are. Don't move. Cut it. No, you're moving.
Sorry. I'm afraid y'all to carry the camera because my hands are all wet. Sorry. Dennis? What are you doing, Dennis? Dennis? Stop! No! No!
Dennis was very open to just doing things. It was like I could say, hey, Dennis, go climb up that rock. And, you know, he'd do it. You know, he was gung-ho. He just would go ahead, oh, yeah, sure, well, just go do this. You know, oh, and I thought that maybe I could do this. And I'm like, okay, sure, we'll just shoot it.
One other odd thing that Ryan had me do throughout the filming process was he wanted me to walk up to things like a lamppost or a tree, and he wanted me to touch it and then walk away from it without saying anything. And I would ask him over and over again, why do you have me touching this tree? And he finally admitted to me after we finished post-production that he wanted me to be touching things and sensing things, and almost as if I could tell that this wasn't really the right kind of world, something was wrong with it.
Most of the direction I gave them was mainly technical. It was like, hey, I need you to be in this part of the frame, I need you to be standing here at the end of it.
Come on!
Just waiting for him. Could you go to your left, Sylvie, please?
Are you sure my left?
No, I'm not.
That way?
Go to your right, Sylvie. Could you give me your purse?
I got quite a lot of ribbing over my stage directions. You know, he forgets actors have names. You go here and do this.
Go to your right. Sylvie, stand still, please.
This way?
Yes, you're right. That's good.
Yes. I'm sure some of that direction will get into this tape somewhere. Let me explain it, please.
Ryan has learned very little in regards to upstage, downstage, and so on when telling actors what to do. He also forgets that actors have names.
I didn't just direct Time and Again. I did camera work for it. I did setup. I did light. I was doing I was wearing several hats at once.
You need to go a little further in, and you don't have to do it right. Okay, you walk in. Perhaps even stop before. Okay, that's you walk in. Watch your collar when you come out too. What? Watch your collar when you come out.
Play with it?
No, watch it. So it doesn't flow all over the place. Just get in there.
You want me to walk forward, shoot,
very good. Yep.
pull down, and then say the line, right?
Then say the line. We'll pull it in.
How unfortunate to find me.
You can go ahead. You can go ahead and use your hands in however you like. Just don't overdo it. Are ready?
What am I doing?
You're gonna react to the Master's appearing TARDIS.
How am I reacting to that?
You're just gonna. It's there. Just look at it, okay? Use those little hands. Ready?
And a lot of times my direction kind of broke down the verbal parts of my brain.
What you want to do is at any opportunity.
And I'd just be like, you go that way.
Oh wait, stay where you are. Stay where you are for a second. I didn't say get up. I am the director here. I make the casting decisions.
God, I'm going to puke.
I'm not a very good multitasker, but I try. I constantly try, and I keep on trying till it looks decent.
My entire life now.
I don't like this close-up. I'm going to go back a little more. Not your fault. And there's no way I can blame you for it. You ready?
No. What are we doing?
Get. You are going to walk.
If I get up again, you'll yell at me.
He ain't kidding.
Okay. This is how it's gonna happen. Watch me, okay? Watch me now.
Can I
Watch
get up
me
now?
work.
I'm getting up. That's your mark. I need a mark. Put a piece of corn there. That'll stick right out.
Like, oh my God, he's here. I'm gonna crap my pants, or is it more like?
Why don't you just walk and put your hand on the post, okay?
I can't.
While watching him.
My gun will fall.
No, you can use the other hand. Reach across. Like this.
Oh, it's another hand thing.
A lot of the look of the film was basically trial and error, just like, I wasn't able to spit it out right the first time, so we'll try it again, and I probably wasted a lot of videotape that way, but, what you gonna do?
Action. Cut. You went too far, Remy, and you were a little late. Reprimand yourself. Action. Cut. We got a truck moving across the skyline.
Damn you!
Cut. Can you?
Okay. More.
I know your shoulder's in the shot. That's why I'm doing that.
You look tired, is what you look.
I'm tired.
That's probably why.
Well, it's been a long adventure, though.
Yeah, so maybe this works.
You're tired for a good reason.
Okay, so let's try it. Continue.
A lot of times I think that maybe that was my way of socializing in college. I made movies. I got together with people and I made movies, and I had fun doing it. It was a lot of stress at some point. A lot of times it was a lot of stress, but I got the stinking things done. And while other people were, they'd like to go out and party or whatnot, I'm coming from, the realm of geekdom. I didn't really do that. And I wasn't really interested, but I enjoyed making movies, and it was a nice way to meet people and and form friendships. Some of which I still have today. So.
I like the way you guys did it. It's just a very simple shot. Yeah. It'll work. It'll work. Trust me.
Post-production, I had to some extent worn out my welcome at the UWL video production department. The person who directed that department was anxious for me to finish up what I've been working on for 2 years. I mean, who could blame her? So basically, she arranged for me to go to an editing facility to finish up editing because I wasn't going to be able to do it there.
One of the laws that seems to govern every single fan video is the level of enthusiasm drops off steeply after the shooting is done and the post-production begins.
Also, I was able to use my connections at WKBT to edit some of the film. Actually, quite a lot of the film I just edited on their 3/4 inch decks and 3/4 inch tape decks, you know, with the jog shell, old school analog.
Because shooting, you can be very creative and have a lot of fun, but the process of actually putting together each individual shot can be very, very tedious.
And the agreement was I would need a student that goes to this, it was WWTC, Western Wisconsin Technical College, and I would need one of the students to do it for a grade to edit my movie. We had an editor whose name escapes me right now. I'm sorry, it's been a while. And he agreed to do it. He had no idea what he was getting into. He didn't realize he was editing like an almost 2-hour movie. And he at the end he was really getting stressed out, and I did not make it easy on him. I feel bad for the guy, I honestly do, but he got through it and he came up with some editing stuff that was pretty good.
Towards the end of the editing process, he and I were joined at the hip, you could say.
Our editing suites, we used a lot of Video Toaster, and we edited in Super VHS.
We logged tapes together and we edited scenes together. He would be at the editing bay in a non-linear format and saying, "Dennis, I need an over-the-shoulder shot of the master and the doctor." And I'd say, "It's on tape K12 and it's at 3 minutes and 16 seconds into the tape." And he'd grab that tape and we'd start working on that particular shot.
We got the thing cut together.
There were a couple of strange ideas that Ryan wanted to include, but he never bothered to explain during the actual making of the movie. In particular, he loved the color green. But he never explained why. He wanted some of the titles to be green. He wanted to have green special effects whenever he could possibly have them. Green, green, green. It was just ridiculous. And of course, a couple months after we released the film, The Matrix came out, which was using green as well for all of its strange things. Towards the end of post-production, we realized that there were a couple of shots that were necessary for the story to be told, and we just hadn't gotten them at the time. So we had to improvise whenever we could. My living room was actually a very fun place to shoot pickup shots that hadn't been gotten in the original footage. For the fans out there who are familiar with Sam Raimi's work, I would be known as a fake Shemp in the credits if Sam had shot this movie. You see my hands and my arms coming into frame pretending to be somebody else so often I've lost track. For instance, when the master gets up out of his chair, there's a brief insert shot of his hand touching the arm of the chair as he gets up. That's my hand in one of my winter gloves in my living room with a black piece of fabric in the background to mask the fact that we're in somebody's living room.
Dennis supplied some CG elements. He messed around with a 3D program and got some nice looking spaceship effects and some title effects. He was also able to enlist help from overseas.
Exterminate! Exterminate!
They put together a couple of shots of the TARDIS that actually turned out pretty nicely.
Yes, I actually had time to work on sound effects for this movie as well.
What?
For instance, when the Doctor locks his TARDIS, it's the sound of me pushing my house key into my kitchen door. On the other hand, there were some more exotic sound effects that I needed as well, and I stole them gleefully from video games and from archives from the BBC.
Dennis did amazing amount of work on this movie. You know, some of it I wasn't aware till later that he did, but he did a lot of work on it. You know, when I was having problems, you know, Dennis was like, "Well, I can do it," you know, and give it a try, and he did a very good job, especially with the music. His music was really good. He did it all on his keyboard. He composed the whole thing.
At the point that we started post-production on Time and Again, I didn't have a lot of actual experience with producing music of this sort. It was actually my very first project where I used this much complexity of music.
And the neat thing about listening to Dennis's music is that He would work in themes, and he used themes in leitmotif style.
I wanted a really complex, textured, orchestral sound to the soundtrack. I loved listening to old John Williams soundtracks, although I'd never be able to achieve that kind of bombastic sound. I definitely wanted that complexity, and I wanted to use motifs so that every character in the film had their own musical idea behind them. So whenever you see the master, you'll hear the master's theme.
All you have to do is... I was never fully convinced that you would recognize the folly of your ways, but I had to take the chance.
I think as fan compositions go, I think Dennis, I mean any fan composition goes, I think Dennis is probably top 10, you know, as far as I'm able. We wanted to have a premiere of this thing.
The premiere was held at the Rivoli Theater in La Crosse. It's a second-run theater with a beautiful interior, a little rundown, but still has a lot of charm to it.
The Rivoli actually had a system with a liquid crystal projector, and so they could show like Packer games. So it's not just football games, they showed Packer games. This is Wisconsin after all, and this was actually around the time when the Packers were doing decent.
We put up posters, and a lot of university students who knew what Doctor Who was came out to see what was going on.
We exhibited it that one night. Dennis came in his costume.
They had actually put the name of the movie up on the marquee. We couldn't charge money for the tickets, I remember, because of copyright issues. But the movie theater guy was allowed to charge money for concessions, which would help him make his money back.
I remember the premiere. I remember my heart beating 1,000,000 miles an hour because that was a very different experience to sit in the audience and actually watch my own performance in the midst of, what, 200 people? 250 we had there, and which is, you know, a fairly decent-sized audience for a homemade film based on a BBC property.
So when we showed up that night, it was really exciting to see the title of our movie up on the marquee and to walk in and know that we were going to be up on that big screen.
I think the neatest part was the music.
Yeah.
Because it was like the whole theater's dark and you hear bum 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 bum, and then this little CGI TARDIS comes flying into view. And the whole theater's like, yay!
It was, I watching it though, I on the big screen seeing myself, it was great.
Yeah, we drew quite a large crowd, and everybody who came seemed to have a great time, especially after we ran the blooper reel.
Well, something you mentioned about how you were surprised, and I felt the exact same way, that some of the words that we put in the script actually appeared on film.
I mean, I remember thinking it was like pretty interesting in the way that it was put all together. I mean, I wasn't there for every scene, I wasn't there for every shot, and I didn't really like know the whole plot necessarily.
We even showed a promotional trailer for another student film that was being made at the time, and that was quite cool, having a coming attraction for another student film before our student film.
I think that it kind of fit together pretty well, and I understood like more about my scenes.
It was a good time.
There were a lot of people there, a lot of people that were involved in the production, a lot of friends and family, the people that were involved in the production, and I mean, you know, how often can you say that?
That was the first time. Yeah, that was the first time we saw it, though.
Yeah, yeah.
It had not been shown before. It's not like we saw an advanced copy or anything.
Yeah, no, that was Ryan's little surprise.
And it was kind of nice to come to that because in the editing situation, the post-production, things had really become very stressful and very strained. and it was really nice to get past that part. Have a nice, this is the end, we did it, we're, you know, it wasn't the end, but it seemed like an ending of sorts.
I was so happy to see it, and my friends loved it, and it was the fruition of 2 years of work, you know, of 2 years of occasional labor, you know. It was really cool to see.
About midway, a little more than midway through the filming of Time and Again, we're actually getting close to the end of it. We were going to go to the November convention of Her Majesty's Entertainment Visions 98, which now I guess they have different management, and they call it Chicago TARDIS.
At the Chicago TARDIS convention, there was a masquerade, and I was involved. And rather than just step out on the stage and say, here's my costume for the fan video I'm working on, but it's not done yet, I brought my guitar.
I once had a girl, or should I say, she once had me. She showed me her road, isn't it good, Norwegian wood.
I believe he won that contest, or he placed high up.
I came in second place, but it was really close.
Sing out my
We finished the edit of Time and Again in October of 1999, and we showed it at the Rivoli shortly after that. In fact, I think we finished our last edit of the final credits just before we took the tape down to the theater for the premiere.
The final cut, I have to admit, it is hard to watch it all in one sitting because there's a lot of dialogue.
I do remember thinking that most of the dialogue scenes were about twice as long as they needed to be, but I mean, that's pretty much normal for a fan video. Trust me, I did Time Rift. I know about using too many words.
The whole movie is set up like a play, and it's very hard to retain the attention of the audience when you don't cut from scene to scene rapidly.
But I just remember being impressed that this one actually did feel like a proper story. It was not just a collection of old gags from Doctor Who. There was an attempt to actually hang it together on a story that held together in its own right.
The next month, in November, I took the video down to Chicago to show it at the Chicago TARDIS convention, and it got quite a nice warm reception down there. A few months later in the spring, I took the tape out to Los Angeles and showed it to a bunch of fans out there as well.
When Time and Again first came out, Kate and I went to England and showed it to Rupert Booth, who is a longtime friend of ours, and we were all just blown away. I mean, we absolutely coveted the special effects that they had managed to get together for this sort of thing. I adored a lot of the acting. I was just blown away by the fact that everyone seemed so committed to the project.
We finished the film, and then it went off, and I went off and did stuff, and you know, I had important stuff to do, and you just kind of forgot about it. And I had my copy, and I showed it a couple of times, and said, "Hey, I did this." But then, you know, it just kind of passed away from memory. And then I remember hearing that people really liked it.
I had seen that on the website. There were people who had like posted their reactions to it, and they were good for the most part. So I knew that it was getting some good feedback.
And then, of course, with the internet, you know, that newfangled internet that the kids like so much, it gets circulated around.
And it's really gotten quite a worldwide exposure.
New Zealand and Australia and England and Canada.
I've actually been to a couple of websites that talk about fan fiction or fan films for Doctor Who, and I've seen, you know, people's comments about the Time and Again movie. I mean, there's a lot of people who consider it the best fan film ever made of Doctor Who, which is against some pretty august company. You know, there's some really good fan films out there.
To distribute a fan video, I needed to get my address out there so people could send me a check and a request for the tape. And basically the check would cover the cost of my duplication of the tape and providing the cassette and the color covers and the video box, things like that. Usually people would just send me a check with a short letter saying, please send me a copy of the movie. But one of my favorite envelopes actually had artwork on it as well as my address. It has a beautiful rendering of me and the TARDIS, which was based on a photo that I had done for the website. And on the back, you can see Paul Christopher, along with some of the more famous monsters from Doctor Who, including a Santoran, a Cyberman, and a Dalek. And down here in the corner is, of course, a cow, because I'm from Wisconsin.
And for people to hold it in such a high regard, I think is a real honor, and I'm really thankful for that. And It's great.
You're famous in geekdom.
Sweet.
Time and Again was a great experience. It was definitely worth doing. And I'm glad it's still around. It's, I think, a really good homage to a really good show.
Time and Again, I almost completely forgot about it afterwards.
That was my first on-camera work ever. So I did learn quite a bit, and it introduced me to basically that medium.
It's hard to imagine my life without Time and Again. I know that sounds a little pretentious, but it really the whole experience kind of shaped me as a person in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I would say every month or so I still get an occasional email asking, how did you build your police box? How did you shoot that particular scene? And it's really quite flattering that people are still watching this and it's still spreading like a virus.
Well, I'm not like done with it just yet. You know, I've been working on it for 10 years. It's, you know, not
the whole
quite ready.
idea that movies are never finished; they're all just abandoned.
Yep.
It's very flattering that somebody wants to actually make a documentary about this movie.
When I started with Time and Again, I had been friends with Dennis Kuhn, who played the Doctor, and we continued to be friends for several years after that, and then eventually I fell in love with him, and now we're married.
I'm not ready to abandon it just yet. I have a couple more things I want to do with it.
Are you going to come out with a version where the master shoots first?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Time and Again was a blast. It was probably more fun making it than watching it.
When Time and Again was produced, it was during a time when the BBC had put Doctor Who on a rather lengthy hiatus. But the diehard fans really believed that the show could come back and be better than ever. And so the last words you see in the end credits of Time and Again are, "Save Doctor Who." Now, we're not taking credit for the new series whatsoever, but by golly, I'd like to think that we had at least a little glimmer of inspiration for the people who worked on that show.
You know, I think all the time that I spent on Time and Again, which wasn't a lot compared to the people who were the stars of the movie, all the time was fun.
The best part about it is that it's been entertaining for so many people for so long. And I'm just glad to have been part of a small piece of that.
It was fun. It was like just a bunch of ragtag kids putting together a show kind of thing.
At this point in my life, Time and Again for me is a perfect memory because it's been long enough time that I've forgotten any arguments or problems that I've had, but it's recent enough that I can still remember all the great stories. Well, maybe with a little bit of embellishment.
I'm especially honored, would be a good word, that so many people thought it was good, that they liked it. I'm glad you liked it. So thanks.
He did let me keep one piece of costume, and in fact, I have it with me here today. It's this piece right here. I bring it with me wherever I go, and every now and then I put it on and stand in front of the mirror, and I just cry for joy.
Dancing. Yes, I was a go-go dancer this year.
No, that's not it.
And Ryan, you can feel free to edit out that last bit.
so I can stay married.
I wasn't, the kind of person, I've never been the kind of person who could just walk onto a stage during an audition and go, ha, cast me, because if you don't, your show will suck. Yeah.
You're just like,
Yeah.
This is definitely not gonna make it into the doc, is it?
No, I don't think so.
I wanted the fake Shemp comment. He won't use it, but I think it's funny.
It's like...
Let me try that again. Whew, too much cheesecake.
It's for posterity.
It wasn't pasta I had.
Posterity.
That thing, that knob thing.
The knob thing, yeah, the coordinate circuit key.
That thing was heavy.
Up on a hill with a lonely goat, your lady, your lady, your lady.
I really think you could probably find that outfit again if you go to www.pimphats.com. You get the nice purple suit with the minky velvet bell, you get yourself a little pimp cane, a nice little hat, fur trim of course.
Right. Crack is whack.
And Russell T. Davies, if you're watching,
Thank you.